281 346 713 832. You better start dialing. Welcome, everybody. We are here, Answers by Guests. I don't know if it's week 2, week 2.5, week 3. It's halftime adjustments, answers with guests. We are the inside scoop from outside the box. Remember to like and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon. Use those hashtags whenever you're posting. Hashtag Answers by Guests, hashtag ABG. FF, boys and girls, thank you for joining us. Rob just shared it to the group. I'm sure we got a couple people in here. I'll get to the comments in just a little bit. See Alan commenting. I see one other person in here. Hopefully, we get some more. Boys and girls, what a cluster. Can anybody hold a lead? What a great week. We got a lot to unpack. We got a lot of problems. If you didn't catch what I said in the intro, if you're not checking out the intro's pretty good, but 281 346 713 832, those are area codes. Find out where it is, you'll understand what I mean. We got some problems. We got some real problems. First one on the slate, the Bears. We thought we got rid of Nagy and we'd be able to use Bears. I don't know if it's Justin Fields or if the coaching staff is worse than Nagy was, but they're all a problem right now. Mooney, he's had a couple targets, one catch, I think. Komet, no catches, one target, 2 weeks. I see that we have a couple questions about the Bears coming up. We'll get to comments in a second. We'll get to questions once we run through these. If they don't do it this week against Houston, you cut ship. You have no choice. They've had 2 pretty tough matchups. They had the weather. In the first game, they had Green Bay in the second game, but they are a real problem. So is Baker. Baker's a problem. We got lucky with DJ Moore. Talk about him in a little bit, but he doesn't look good. And this is coming from somebody who is a Baker truther. Love him. Man crush for sure. He's a problem, and because of that, those Panther wide receivers. Laviska was inactive again. He must not either be up to speed or as good as they thought he was when they traded for him. Devonta Parker and Hunter Henry are problems. We can't use them. We can't even roster them at this point. I mean, we didn't like Hunter Henry going in, even last year and this year as well with Jonnu Smith. But we thought, get Parker, take a little bit off, throw the ball around a real solid receiver. It's Myers there and Aguilar. Devontae Parker's doing nothing. He's a problem. We can't use him. If you're sitting there thinking about should I drop Devontae Parker for anybody usable, you got to go ahead and do it. As discussed in the preseason, I wanted no part of the Baltimore running backs, no part of the Miami running backs. But for some reason, I did what I said last year I would never do. And shame on me for that. I said if I don't like somebody, I'm never going to recommend them. And shame on me and YouTube users, a couple of them, at least one. I recommended Drake Sunday morning. Why not? Should be good against Miami. They got good corners. They'll need to run a little. That game was incredible, but the running game was non-existent between the both of them. I mean, Mostert, he's got a little bit of juice, but next week, you throw Mostert in your lineup this week, you know it's going to be Edmonds next week. Mostert's also made of glass. You can't use any of these guys. I don't even think when Dobbins comes back, you can use any of these guys. The Colts on the road, shame on me again. Shame on me again. Talking up Paris Campbell, Kylan Granson. I said Matt Ryan is no good on the road. We say it all the time. And the Colts haven't won in Jacksonville in forever. I'm nervous if I own any Colts, including Jonathan Taylor, going forward on the road with Matt Ryan as the quarterback. I'm a little worried. That's a real problem. Russell Wilson without Judy. I think that's the key. Like he peppered Sutton. Sutton looked good. Week 1, Albert O was doing a couple things. The running backs, you know the story with them. My love affair with Javonte, but I feel like Judy was the glue. He was what held them together. He went out early in that game. The offense couldn't do a thing. We'll have to check on his injury as the week goes on. But that's a real problem. Kyler was on this list for 3 quarters. Kyler was a real problem. Then he went, flip the switch. Another amazing game. Nobody can hold leads. But he could be a real problem. We'll see. I mean, we got, 3-4 weeks before Hopkins comes back, and he could be a shell of himself as well. He was on the list. I kept him on, but he showed us maybe he's not. But we'll see. And it's going to be tough there now. We'll see how hurt. Oh, something about that Connor. They were down 20-0. Connor got hurt. Say what you want. But as soon as they got close, they were down by that touchdown. You look on the sidelines, they showed him a couple times. Connor wanted to get back in the game. That tells you a lot about James Conner. Quitting on his team. I'm too hurt to go back in, coach. I don't want to play. It's 20-0. We're going to lose. And as soon as they show some life and get close, now he wants to get back in the game. And they didn't put him back in the game. And the thing is, Eno Benjamin truthers, it wasn't him. It was Williams. So Eno's got his role. He's not going to be the one if Connor gets hurt again. Real answers. And here's the plus side, a little bit of sunshine. Michael Thomas, especially. We were worried about him. How would he come back? To me, if you got him real late in drafts, I think that's a real answer to these problems. And if anybody, for whatever reason, you might be able to snake him off, I think he's a real answer. And Juwan Johnson keeps getting targets more than a half dozen every game. Jameis Winston, as long as he's the quarterback, he's got those fractures in his back. And that's a reason I'm holding on to Taysom Hill as well. If those back fractures for Jameis Winston prove to be something more and he gets knocked out, we know that Taysom Hill is going to be the quarterback and you get to use him as a tight end, cheat code. But as long as Jameis is the quarterback, Juwan Johnson is a real answer at tight end, and we need those. There's a couple other ones. Conklin, as long as he continues to be the one for the Jets, he's an answer. Irv Smith showed he's an answer. If he would have caught that other ball he dropped, he'd have had 2 touchdowns last night. And Evan Ingram, I think, is a real answer. They're playing him over Dan Arnold. And Trevor Lawrence is looking for him. So if you need some tight end help, those 3 guys, including Juwan Johnson, and we all could use tight end help, those are guys that could be solutions for us. We know these 2 names by now. Garrett Wilson proved again he's the best one on the Jets. Corey Davis only had that 1 catch, but very meaningful. Brought the Jets back into it. And Drake London, he's an answer. If you got either of these 2 guys late or off of waivers, you're going to be able to start these guys, if not week 3, very soon in the future. And dare I say, Darko, a little alliteration, dare I say, Dortch. He continues to do it. And this one's a big one for me. Curtis Samuel. He's a real answer. Now, they've played 2 cupcake matchups, so we'll see how it goes this week. But against the Jags and against the Lions, the way they're using Samuel, he's a real answer. And as long as this team's on home, Ashton Doolin is a real answer. Matt Ryan likes him. He liked him when Pittman was healthy. He liked him when Pittman was out. He's about the only one that had any sort of production. for the Colts. So that's another real answer for you on waiver night. Cooper Rush. He's a real answer, but not a fantasy answer for himself, but for the Cowboys. Yeah, at home. Yeah, caught Cincy off guard. Cincy got caught off guard again. Their offensive line's terrible. But he held it together. And the offensive weapons for the Cowboys didn't lose what we thought they'd lose. So it's something to keep in mind if you were about to sell low or if somebody else dropped on those Cowboys. They might actually be better with him than Dak. So he could be a real answer. Now here's some positives from the week. We got lucky with DJ Moore. Duvernay and OJ Howard were fluky, we said in week 1. That proved to be true in week 2. Devonta, Harris, Amari, A-Rob, Renfro all bounced back. We called that Sunday morning and on the recorded shows. We said that Elijah Moore and Corey Davis would take a back seat. They did. Amon-Ra is unstoppable. He was. And here's some negatives. Kmet and Mooney. Was it Green Bay D or does Fields just sink? This week is the final. It's it. If they don't do it against Houston, it's over. Lazard should have had 2 TDs. We call it a minus, but they didn't need to throw. See above. They didn't need to throw. But when they got close and Rodgers threw it, who did he throw it to? Both times. Lazard. So we're fine with him, but it was a bad call. And Drake, I talked about this. What was I thinking? Colts without Pittman on the road. What was I thinking? Kyle Pitts, 3 targets? Thought for sure he'd bounce back. Jalen Ramsey was guarding him the entire game. Didn't see that coming. Should have seen that coming. And the Broncos, that was a bad call. They did nothing. And I think Judy had a lot to do with it. So we'll get to your questions from the group so we can get to your live questions. Let me just say what's up to all the people that are typing in here. Alan and Jeremy so far. Scott, what's up? And if I miss anybody, I'm sorry. All right. Real quick, these are from the group posted today or yesterday. Spencer said, would you trade Pittman or Bateman for Dylan? He said he's weak at RB. Now it's got those 3 little asterisks at the end. What that basically was because I was going to take a screenshot of his lineup. He wants to trade Pittman or Bateman for Dylan. He says he's weak at RB. I mean, yeah, you are. I do it. And then he sort of said this, Judy and Dylan for Pittman. It depends. If Judy's not really hurt, if he's going to play this week or at least next week, Pittman's a beast, but for you, Spencer, I would do that. And he also asked a Lance replacement. He said he has Lawrence. I'm looking at his team. He's got a bunch of quarterbacks. Is that correct? Oh, no. He's got Lawrence. He's got Mariota, Mayfield, Mills, Tannehill, Trubisky, Geno. Those guys are all on the waiver wire. I think I just ride it out with Lawrence. Ride it out. Rudy asks, he said, I need a wide receiver. Would you trade Barkley, CMC, or Javonte for one? And I'm looking at Rudy's team. He's got Cortland Sutton, Juju, Thielen, Dotson, Samuel. I throw Samuel in the starting lineup for now and just hope for the best. I think we could use a wide receiver. He did point out that Barkley and CMC, I believe, had the same bye week. I think it's week 9, or maybe Javonte and somebody else had the same bye week, week 9. Yeah, Javonte and Barkley. I really don't want to trade any of them. If I could maybe put together, I don't know, maybe find the Rashad Penny owner because you have Walker on your bench and pair him up with Thielen and get yourself a better wide receiver, I'd start there. I'd start low. Don't start high. Because if you trade any of those 3 guys, you better be getting a first-round wide receiver. And if you just need a wide receiver 2, which is kind of what you need, a solid wide receiver 2, I'd start there. Thielen and start with the penny owner, Thielen and Walker. Matt says team weight went off this week. Should be looking for another RB. I think he's the last asterisk here. Listen, I'm not sure if you really need another RB. I mean, he's got Austin Eckler. I think he has a great week this week. He's got Darrell Henderson, who I think Akers is going to slowly get more. But you got ETN, you got Dillon, and then you got Algier and Pacheco on the bench, who, as the season progresses, could become more valuable. So I don't know if I really want to trade off Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra, Michael Thomas, Deontay's on your bench. I guess if you can get rid of Elijah Moore and maybe get Cam Akers, and that way you have Akers and Henderson, because I do think Henderson's gonna lose a little bit. I mean, we saw Akers look better this week. Antonio said 2 QB league. He only has Herbert and Lawrence since Lance went down. Would you scoop? Who would you scoop? Brissett, Zach Williams, or Trubisky? He was kind of leaning Trubisky. Listen, it's not Brissett. Trubisky has some job security. Zach Wilson should have job security when he comes back. Herbert and Lawrence right now, Herbert might not play this week, so you got to get somebody in the 2 QB league. And it's not Brissett, it's not Zach Wilson, so you have to go after Trubisky this week. But I would try and get Zach Wilson and Trubisky so you have a third one down the road. He wanted to know Rodgers or Wentz, Lazard or Woods. I know Green Bay is playing Tampa Bay. I'd probably go with Rodgers and Lazard. Let me just see here. I just don't want to give you an answer. I don't know. I just don't know who Washington's playing. I mentioned them before. Let's see if Rob pops in tonight. Washington's playing Philly. Tennessee playing the Raiders. I'm going to go with Rodgers and Lazard. Just do it up. They're going to start going. The only problem you're going to run into in this game against the Bucs is if the Bucs have no wide receivers. Mike Evans not playing. Godwin's probably not back. See about Julio. We just signed Beasley. It's a bunch of idiots, for lack of a better term. Will Green Bay just run the ball like they did before the other night? But as of right now, on a Tuesday, I'm going Rodgers, Lazard, Antonio, check back on Sunday morning, and we'll go from there. Scott has to drop one. Not sure why he has to drop one, but he's got Akers, ETN, Rashad White, Godwin, Lazard, Elijah Moore, Devonta Smith. You got to drop White. He's got a lot of value, possibly down the road if Fournette gets hurt, but that's who you have to drop. Darren Ash, should I trade Gibson for Damian Harris? Yeah, I don't mind it. Gibson's got, 2 weeks left before the rookie comes to play. I'd probably do it. You know they're going to use Harris. Harris looked good last week. He looked good the first week. The offense as a whole just really didn't. I would do that. That's fair enough. Is Lockett worth a waiver? I'd say yes. Yes, for sure. It always depends who you're dropping, but yes, for sure. It might have been you who said you were going to drop Devontae Parker, and if that's the case, 100% you do that. Every single one of you should be dropping Parker. I don't even care if he goes off this week. Chad said, should you drop Romeo for Devontae Smith? Yes, I would. And how much fab would you spend on Jamar Chase? All of it? Now, he plays in the Guillotine League. If you don't know what that is, it's every week the lowest scoring team is gone. They're eliminated from the league. They play no more. You get whoever, it's just points. Lowest points, you're gone. All your players go into player pool on the waivers. I mean, you got $1,000 budget. I think your question said maybe not all, but you got to be prepared that a lot of people are going to do all. And if I'm looking at your 4 wide receivers, you have 1 wide receiver 1 in AJ Brown. You got a possible wide receiver 3 in Palmer. Noah Brown, who knows what's going to happen when Gallup comes back. Maybe he's a little more involved now that Schultz is out. And Elijah Moore is a 3-headed monster, and he is the least involved at this point. I mean, maybe he's a little more involved with Corey Davis. He got lucky last week. I'd spend at least 70%, at least $700. Derek, I dropped Irv for Komet. Very concerned, as you should be. Irv and Ingram are available. Make a move or stand pat. I think you make a move. I think you try and get both. Why not? If you have three and Komet stinks this week, then you can get rid of Komet. But what I don't want to happen is Chicago Bears somehow miraculously wake up and the offense gets going. Komet's going to be involved. And if they don't, you have Irv and Ingram. Don't know who you'd be able to drop to get both. If you want to drop Komet to get one, I'd say you get Irv. I just think that his breakout was supposed to be last year before he got hurt. He showed he's going to be involved last night. I'd go after Irv first, Ingram second, all three if I could. Also, yes, Indy D. Grab Philly, Houston, or Cincy. I think I'd just stay the course with Indy. We'll see what happens with Darius Leonard. I'd probably just stay the course. I mean, it was a ramsack. It was Matt Ryan on the road in a place that they don't win ever in the past 4+ years. I just stand pat. I know the Philly D looked really good last night. I'm definitely not taking Houston. And until the Cincy gets their offensive line fixed, I can't trust their defense because they're going to be playing on a lot of short fields. Spencer, is Jimmy G or Flacco worth a grab in the super flex? Jimmy G is. Flacco is going to lose his job when Zach Wilson comes back. Now, if Zach Wilson stinks, then they'll go back to Flacco. So you definitely grab Jimmy G because he's got all the job security in the world. Using your second waiver on him, I would say, not too bad. But also, if I'm not mistaken, Spencer, I'm not sure if you're watching, but I think you already have 4 or 5 QBs. And if that's the case, if I'm correct, and I remember correctly, you got 4 or 5 QBs, I don't think that you need to waste your second waiver on Jimmy G unless you plan to trade one, which is not a bad idea. All right, your questions live. I'm sorry for ignoring all of you. Just a lot of stuff to unpack this crazy week. Alan said, yo, golfer Jimmy G. QB at the moment is Cousins. He'd like a backup. That's not a bad trade because then you're going to have Mahomes and you don't have to worry about your first question. I think Eckler's going to go off this week, but I think London's the real answer. I said it. You know what? If your running backs are good, Alan, I would do that trade. I would do it because now you don't have to worry about should I have Goff, should I have Jimmy G, or should I have Cousins? Because I said from day one, I'm not buying into Cousins. You got Mahomes, you put him in, doesn't matter the matchup, you sleep like a baby. London, now you have a wide receiver 3 with two upside. You lose a great running back in Eckler. He could be injury prone. I do think he has a big week this week because he's yet to have one. I also think Derrick Henry is going to have a big week this week. And this is Tuesday night talk, but I would do that. And it seems like you're kind of overpaying. But if your running backs are solid enough, if you've got a really solid second, third, and fourth running back, I think you do that. Then you don't have to worry about the quarterback pretty much the rest of the season. Jags beat the Colts bad. Yep. Jeremy went 0-2. He lost in his league by 4. He's more worried about ABG. He lost both leagues. He need a ton of help. You just got to stick with it, man. Stick with it. Run the waiver wire. Identify the problems and find the answers, which is what we did in the beginning of the show. Hello, Scott, to you. He dropped Henry in his league. We drop Parker next week. Hunter Henry, yes, and get rid of Devontae. Darius Toney, man. Yeah, he's droppable last week. They don't like him. He's doing nothing right. This guy already dropped him. Scott already dropped him. What happened to Kyle Phillips? You didn't watch. Oh, he was banged up going into it. I mean, what happened was Buffalo happened. You got him on your bench and you don't need to drop him, you keep him there. If you need to drop him, you got a better option, get rid of him. Chubb, number 1 ESPN PPR, will he keep it up? I mean, he's getting 3 touchdowns every single week. Eckler, Barkley, Chubb. That's good. Eckler's going to have a big week this week, though. So we'll see. Will he keep it up? I don't see why not. It's what they do. They run him, and then When he needs a breather and the defense is tired, they put Hunt in, and Hunt runs all over everybody. And then when Chubb feels good again, the defense is even more tired. They put Chubb in, and Chubb just scores touchdowns. Waiver wire ads. Talked about a couple of them. Depends on what you need. Yeah, no, I don't want any of those guys. Are you saying to put no? The Giants, as a Giants fan, Alan, you don't want Odell. Never. You can't go back there. You don't. You don't want Will Fuller, T.Y. Hilton. No. You need Wandale to come back. When he comes back, he'll be all right. Gallup thoughts. Got him the last pick of the draft. Let's see when he comes back. I love Gallup. Alan, you've been with us for at least a couple seasons. You know, I love Gallup. I always thought he was better than Cooper. The injury last year was bad. He also never really got the playing time. He was the third fiddle. He's the second one. He comes back. Listen, without Schultz, when he comes back, he's going to be very effective. And if anybody's listening out there and somebody's got Gallup, I would try and get him now. Because as I mentioned, when I was going through the real answers, the real problems, I do think Cooper Rush helps the Cowboys. I think that they could be, not that they could be better with him than Dak. Now, there's something we have to be wary of, and we'll see if my opinion changes as the week goes on. But a lot of times these quarterbacks come in their first start and they look amazing, and then they play the next couple of weeks and they suck. Mike White last year for the Jets, case in point. So we can't get too crazy, but what I do want you to do, I mean, we don't like Cooper Rush as a quarterback. We're not using him. But I don't think it hits the Dallas skill players as bad as we initially thought it would. Gallup included. I think Gallup will be huge when he comes back. They'll need him. You got Everett, Woody Ross, any of the TDs. I don't mind having two tight ends. I know a lot of people are like, you don't need two quarterbacks, you don't need two tight ends, you don't need two defenses. I like having two of each, and I like to play the matchups, especially defenses, because you want to play against the weaker offense, obviously, especially two tight ends, because tight ends are the worst fantasy commodity to have, because 1 week they could do it all for you, and the next week they could do nothing. So you kind of want to pick and choose, and I know sometimes you got a 50% chance of being wrong, but I'd at least rather have that chance than just have to plug in Everett each week. I'm not a big fan of Everett, first off, but he looked good on Thursday. So I did say that this is the first time in his career he's had a good quarterback throwing him the ball, and I think that's a big plus for him. So I'm fine with having Everett, but he doesn't have Justin Herbert this week, I don't believe. I believe Herbert's going to be out at least a week or two. So I would pick up one of those guys I mentioned, and maybe they got a better matchup. Maybe you just like them going in with their starting quarterback, especially Irv Smith. And quarterbacks this year, like, what's up with quarterbacks? Everybody always says you can wait forever to draft a quarterback. This year, you got 3 or 4 good quarterbacks. Everybody else is dog poop so far, 2 weeks in. This year has been crazy. I feel like every year in the beginning of the year, we say this year's crazy. It's just the way it is. It's fantasy. But usually you could count on quarterbacks 1 through 15. At this point in this season, I've never seen it like this before. You could have a top 8 quarterback who does nothing. I mean, look at Tom Brady. Granted, his situations, but just to throw it out there, his stats are ridiculously terrible. Algier, he got some carries. First game being active. I think that the more he gets into it, the better he'll be. And that's going to be the same with Pierce. It's going to be the same with Walker. It is the same with Hall. Hall last week looked better than Carter. We said that was going to happen Sunday morning. It's how it's going to be. Trade value for Henry has been looking terrible. Yeah, I think he has a big week this week, though. I would not trade Derrick Henry yet. I think he's going to have a big week this week, and then you trade him if you're having any sort of thoughts like that. McLaurin, Gabe Davis, Sutton, Lockett start too. It's a Tuesday night. Um, Got to check on Gabe Davis's health. But as of right now, I'd go McLaurin and Sutton because we also don't know about Judy's. I want you to ask that question Sunday morning, Alan. Fields is awful. He said it since the beginning. Yeah, I had Fields as my fourth best out of last year's top five. And that's probably where he sits because Lance has done nothing to show that he's good. And he hasn't really had the shot. But too bad, so sad. You're number five, Trey Lance. Chicago problem is the field. That could be true. But that was in Green Bay the other night. You with Montgomery grinding out the yard. Oh, maybe you meant Fields. You with Montgomery grinding out the yard, still an opening. Yeah, he looks terrible. He does. And if they can't do anything against Houston, we have to all, and collectively, hopefully the entire fantasy world, just abandon ship on Chicago. It's that bad. I never liked Cousins. Rob was big on Cousins. I mean, aside from having Justin Jefferson, and I do like Irv Smith, I've never been big on Cousins, and it probably dates all the way back to the game where he was playing against Green Bay, or maybe it wasn't Green Bay. They lost to Green Bay the next week, I think. When you like that, yelling at people. I mean, it's just kind of like he thinks he's a little better than he is, type of thing, and I don't think he's that good. Dumping Baker for Jimmy G, not a bad move at all. You could do that, Spencer. Yeah, he lost. He lost Lance. I mean, I'm sure there's something out there you just might need to stream for a little while, Scott. I'm not sure. Maybe post a comment, and if I saw it and I'm forgetting about it, I'm sorry. But post a comment with your waiver and your quarterbacks. Maybe I already went through it. I don't know. I'm old. Trying to get through these. Hostway, I need wide receiver depth. He only has Dig. All right. So this was should you trade Gabe and RV for a better wide receiver? Jones, Sanders, Wilson, Herbert, Benjamin, Walker, Mitchell, Robinson. Mitchell Robinson. All right. I'm not against you trading Jeff Wilson because TDP's hurt now, and this is what Shanahan does. He hurts all his running backs for some reason. And Wilson's bound to get hurt. He had a pretty decent game, and his value's higher now with Jimmy G. If you could pair up Wilson and Christian Watson, I don't know if that's going to do much for you. But that would be like, at this point, 2 weeks in the season, I'm not about getting rid of guys that I know are helping me now and will continue to. Diggs is going to continue to. Waddle's going to continue to. Gabe, when he's healthy, is going to continue to. Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders. And then you get a little iffy. So I would say you actually kind of need a better running back if it were me. Because Eno Benjamin isn't it. I don't think. I think he's got his role. And when Connor was out, it was Williams, not Eno. I think Walker is going to, I don't like it because I love Rashad Penny, but I think he's going to surpass him. He's coming for his job, and he looked great last week. As good as he could look in the Geno Smith offense, he did. Your IR guys are your IR guys. Herbert, we talked about the Bears ad nauseum. I would try and get rid of Wilson and Watson and maybe get a better running back is what I would do. I think your big three there are good. You can get wide receivers when you need them for the buys. But your big three, you got to keep those three. I don't think you can trade Gabe Davis, man. Yeah, Goff, sure. With Amon-Ra, Chark didn't do much, but he's got him. He's got Hawk. He's got Josh Reynolds, who he's using. I mean, that's a matchup one, Scott. It's a matchup one. Not big on Cousins, but I mean, I don't even know if they play each other. But if it's Goff versus Well, the Rams, he might have the revenge factor, but if it's Goff versus the Rams, he will play the Packers, uh, Cousins might have a better matchup. Cousins might be playing the Bears that week. You know what I mean? If we are done with Parker, thoughts on Stevenson? I'm fine with Stevenson. I'm fine with Harris. That's about it. I mean, I'm done with Parker because they're not doing. They're not even. He's not even looking his way. They're not even using him. So it's got nothing to do with the Pats' offense. It's just two guys that they're not even using that people drafted, and there's no reason to have them. Aguilar worth a look, I guess, but there's probably somebody better out there because as soon as you pick up Aguilar and you go to use them, they're going to start throwing to Parker. I just don't want any part, or if it's not the running backs. Defensive streams. If you have the Rams, yes. Those are where the Rams is about where I'd go. I'm nervous about the Chargers with no Herbert. I think the Eagles look a little inflated after last night's big show Monday night. Patriots, I don't like this week against Baltimore. The Chiefs, the Broncos, I think that the Rams is probably the best. Currently have the Steelers. Yeah, so you go with the Rams. You can't play the Steelers while they have TJ Watt out. Other RBs in this league. Not sure which league you're in. Sorry, I'm trying to play catch up here, Alan. But those running backs look fine to me. Damian Pierce looked angry. He looked really good. So I think we continue. And now he's playing against the Bears. He's going to have a good week this week. Pick 3, CD, Hollywood, A-Rob, Lazard. Lazard's got the toughest matchup. But like I said, he's the security blanket. He's the red zone option. 2 red zone target. If the Bears didn't make the hand, to block that ball on the way, Lazard had 2 touchdowns last week. And what did A-Rod throw the ball 15 times? Barely threw it. Didn't have to. I don't know how much they're going to have to throw against the Bucs because I don't know what weapons the Bucs are going to be able to use to score points on Green Bay's defense. I'm going with CD because he's playing against the Giants Monday night. I'm going with A-Rob because I think he continues to get more and more involved. So then it's a flip between Lazard and Hollywood. Marty, if you could, Sunday morning, chime in and ask that question again, please, and we'll solve that third one. Peoples-Jones, we talked about it. It said, yeah, he looked like the number 1 week 1, and we said Sunday morning, I don't think so. I said, I think Amari Cooper's going to have a big game. Amari Cooper is their number 1. Peoples-Jones is an extra. You hold him if there's nobody better to pick up. How many times have I said this? You guys come on the show and girls come on the show and you watch and you listen. So you can drop anybody if you're picking up somebody better. And lucky for you, Jeremy, there's probably a lot of people that are better than Peoples-Jones. Dortch or Gallup. If Gallup plays, I'm going to ride the Gallup train on Monday night against the Giants, without a doubt. If you're talking about a roster spot, I can also do Gallup. Gallup doesn't play, then I guess the answer is obvious. Mason were the pickup. No. Why? Because obviously Mason is more of their special team. That's why he played over TDP in week 1. TDP being hurt, Mason jumps to that number 2, which is good. He's worth a pickup if you're dropping somebody. But, man, they just signed Marlon Mack. Who else knows what else they're going to bring in here? Marlon Mack, I don't think he's very good. Don't think he has much left in the tank. But you're picking up Mason for RB5 depth. You're not using him unless Wilson goes down, which I think he probably will. And even when that's the case, he won't be the only one. Just like I said, and it rang true, Wilson wasn't the only one. The only one that's ever been the only one, I feel like, on this team was Elijah Mitchell for like the past 4 years of San Francisco. Because even when it was Breida, it was never just Breida. It was Breida and Mostert. And then it was Mostert and whoever else. And it's always one extra person in there. Elijah Mitchell was running the show pretty much just by himself. They did have weeks where they were using. Um, they had last year. They had four of them. Hasty. They're not even on the team anymore. But worth a pickup, yes. If you're dropping somebody that we don't really care about, because you're not going to use Mason. We lost Lance, Goff, or Wentz. I'm not a big fan of either one. I warned about Wentz last week. He still was getting it done to some degree. Logan Thomas looks really good coming back from his injury. But Wentz is playing against Philly. Who's Detroit play this week? I haven't looked at the matchups yet. I do that on Wednesdays. Detroit's playing Minnesota. So a couple division games. I'd probably go with Goff. Goff is playing really well right now. I'd go with Goff this week on a Tuesday. You mean Robinson? Yeah, I knew what you meant. Told you about Walker. I wish I would have grabbed him. Yeah, you could have. I just knew it wouldn't happen right away. I mean, we all knew that he was hurt. How bad do you need him? I mean, some people have $200 fab. Some people have 500. Somebody was talking earlier at 1,000. Was it you that had 1,000? If Wilson's out there, I think you could probably get away with 40%. But I do think he's the real deal. I do think he's a game changer. 2 weeks in a row, he's proving it. I think 40% is a solid cap. The thing you have to remember, Scott, if it was you and you're the one that's in the guillotine league, there's going to be studs out there every single week, right? Because everybody had a first round, second round, third round, and then a couple wild cards in the late rounds, and they're all going back to the pool. So if it's not your first year in the league, you probably have an idea of how things get spent. So use your better judgment. And if you don't, then take a look at the guys in your league. What did they do last week when the first team got eliminated? Did people spend up like crazy for the studs? Look at those bids to give you sort of a gauge, a barometer of what you should do this week. But if it was you and we're talking about the guillotine league, then Jamar Chase, I mean, I don't see a bigger game changer. Wilson's second, so it says 70%, 40%. And if it wasn't you, I'm sorry for talking about stuff that doesn't matter. It's worth keeping Taysom if Winston is hurt. I think yes. I mentioned that. Of course they would allow him. You know why? Because Yahoo allows it. There should be no discussion about that. He's a tight end. He's a tight end on the team. If he goes in, he plays quarterback, and Winston goes out, you put him in at tight end. Sorry. That's how he's listed. That's how the team has him listed. He gets paid like a tight end. That's the way it goes. So yeah, I think he is worth keeping. Not sure if you answered, but is Chicago or Detroit worth a pickup? See, Chicago is tempting because of their matchup with Houston, Rob. And thank you for joining us. I think last week was your first time. So welcome back. I'm glad you came back to the show. We must have said something you liked last week. But Chicago's offense is so damn bad that their defense can't be trusted. And Detroit, we just mentioned, are playing against Minnesota. And you look like a Minnesota Viking fan, kind of like a Jet fan, but I feel like with that hat you got on, you might like Minnesota as well. So I think that we should know that Minnesota at home might have a little bit of bounce back, and that could be a high scoring game against Detroit. So I don't think either one of those should get picked up. I think you're probably better off with what you got. If Tennessee's 0-5 or 1-4, do you think Malik Willis gets a PT after? But yeah, he looked terrible last night. And that was in mop-up time. Usually the backups come in, they look okay. But I think the Bills were just riding so high that even the fifth stringers were mopping the floors with them. Um, but yeah, I think they have no reason not to. Tannehill he's on the decline of his career. He had his peak where he was better than Mahomes stat wise, and I think that's past. And I think they got to turn to the future because if you're 0-5 or 1-4 and you're not more than likely not making the playoffs unless somehow you miraculously win that division, which is possible, even with that record, the AFC South. You might as well and just give him the burn. But he looked bad last night, but I think you're right. But you're hot. He likes them. I like them too. It makes me thirsty though. These pretzels are making me thirsty. Oh, well, got no more questions. So usually when we got no more questions, what we do is we turn to that Thursday night game. That Thursday night game, Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cleveland Browns. I don't have it listed up on here. Yes, Costanza, you nailed it. It's all of them actually. Remember, they're all no. You don't know how to act. These pretzels are making me thirsty. Great stuff. I'm glad that somebody picked up on that. I don't think anybody picked up on my area codes in the beginning. Maybe nobody watched. Either way, Pittsburgh and the Browns. Browns defense looks good. Pittsburgh offense looks okay. Pittsburgh defense is hurting without TJ Watt. It's Jacoby Brissett. It's Mitchell Trubisky. Can you get any sexier than that? I mean, I like Trubisky. I don't like Brissett. But you have the Browns who want to run. And then being at home after last week's loss to Rob's Jets. Another amazing, like, that was just absolutely ridiculously amazing. The whole thing, like 3 or 4 games all going at once. But I do think that they got a little bit of burn them. And I think the short week helps the Browns because there's 2 things that can happen. That can happen to you on Sunday. You turn around, you have a short week, and you could end up, being like, screw this, I'm done. I don't want to do anything. Or you could end up saying, all right, that pissed me off. It's time to get back to work and do this thing. What's up?
Hey, can you repeat everything you just said? I missed it all.
I was just talking about the Browns after the Jets had their miraculous comeback. They could either go into the game and they could basically say, well, we suck. I'm not playing. It was 4 days from Sunday to Thursday. So one way it could go is the train could go off the tracks. Or the other way it could go is the Browns could be like, okay, that pissed us off. We're coming in this game pissed off against our hated rivals, Pittsburgh. So Chubb and Hunt, I don't need to tell you to start them. I'm starting Amari Cooper. I'm sticking with it. They got him involved. It paid off for them. I'm sticking with Amari Cooper. Jeremy asked about DPJ before, and
It flows, baby. Ebbs and flows.
And I don't even know if he's ebbs and flows. At this point, week 3, no buys. You're not playing him. There's no reason to. You didn't draft him to play him. There's no reason to. And for the Steelers, I think that just like I think somebody had just mentioned this right here, Browns lost 2 pass rushers. I believe they got hurt. Are they going to be out? Not sure. We have to double check. Rob's always the double check guy. I'm glad he joined us.
Unfortunately, I'm still in the living room right now, so I just getting home from work. But I'll take a look at that and I'll post it. Just wanted to come and say hi, bud. Just wanted to let you know you're doing a fantastic job, bud.
Yeah. Thanks. You want to leave now, or you want to hang out?
No, I don't have to leave. I know you're talking about the game, so I actually had a question about Najee. So, but go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say was, if that is the case, then Najee, definitely you're keeping him in your lineup in this one, because if they don't have those two guys up front, well, it's going to open up things a little bit. But I was going to say, I think at this point, week 3, as ridiculous as the season has been, which again, I preface a little bit, most seasons are this way. I find it every season in the beginning, we're like, oh, what a crazy season. This, that, and the third. I don't see a reason that you're benching Deontay. Claypool has underperformed, or actually, he's probably performed at where people thought he would. Freiermuth, with the wasteland that tight end is, you have to get him in. He scored another touchdown last week. So really, if I have to play, I'm just going to go must plays. You must play Deontay. You must play Najee. You must play Freiermuth. You can, if you have to, play Claypool. And then the 2 running backs in Cleveland and Amari Cooper. Nothing super special here. I have no clue who's going to win this game. It's going to be 21-20. Somebody's going to win it at the last second after being down 20-14.
You know how you have that always that feeling like a week before, you're like, man, it was a week off kind of thing. I had talked to somebody over the weekend and I was like, man, I feel like Pickens is going to have a game for some reason. And he had put him in his lineup and I'm like, it's a risky play. Don't get me wrong. It's sexy as hell, but I'm just trying to figure out, I was wrong, obviously. He only scored a couple points. Is this the Pickens time almost in a way? Claypool, too, there's a lot of drops that he's had, man, that I've realized that Trubisky's putting the ball on him. Is it the best throw? No, but he's kind of dropped some catchable balls, too, where Claypool could have been actually a better, have a better stat line.
Well, that could put him in a doghouse to get Pickens a little more burn. Me, on a Thursday night, week 3, with the way this season has been, and what I mean about that is a lot of guys that are supposed to be doing something have yet to really do much. And because of that, I'm not going to, on a Thursday night, put Pickens in my lineup and have to go to bed Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, knowing that I've got the rest of my games happening Sunday and probably Monday, and I already have 5 points or less because I tried to get cute. Now, in the end, could Pickens do something really well? Yeah, but I don't see this one being super high scoring. Barely hitting the 20s. So I think if this was week 8, we got a couple buys, it's a Sunday game, take a shot at Pickens.
Okay.
But being Thursday, week 3, there's got to be somebody on your bench who you drafted to be your wide receiver 3.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That has yet to do anything, that week 3 is probably going to be the time where they do something. You know what I mean? I'd rather go down like that than put him in on Thursday. And you can say, well, the flip side of that, guess, is that, well, what if I don't put him in Thursday and he has 20 points? Well, then he has 20 points. He's on your bench. He's not playing against you. And you got to live with that too. But I'm going to go a little safer, and because there's just been too many guys who were supposed to do things that have yet to do anything.
No, I totally agree with you, man. I just, again, I know we've talked about that in the past on the show, just having that feeling, and sometimes it's a week before or a week after. For some reason, I was kind of feeling Pickens, and it could be more of a Pickens relationship that we need to be able to make that happen. So if Trubisky keeps on playing the way he's playing, that could be in fruition, kind of like Willis coming up soon that you were mentioning before. So,
and there it is right there. He said Pickens is on bench in 3 leagues. He's waiting for Trubisky to get benched.
Yeah, nice. I didn't even see that.
So it could be, because it's that old practice squad, the 2s in training camp. They got the connection. You know.
I like it.
So if it's not a stud on Thursday, I'm not playing them. I'm not trying to get cute. This game should not be super high scoring. It's your typical week 3 Thursday boring game. Unfortunately, I think. I hope it's not, but I kind of feel like it might be.
Actually, I had a quick question. I know you're saying everybody's kind of hurting at tight end. What about Njoku? Could he be somebody that's worth a start? I know you're saying kind of play your guys and stuff like that, but the fact that tight end is hurting so much, he did have a couple catches. It seemed like he was kind of on the field a lot and in those plays.
I'd rather take a shot with Irv is out there in a lot of leagues still. Juwan Johnson, Evan Ingram over in Joku
Okay. All right,
at
cool.
this point. Yep. So Jeremy did have one thing to say. He needs an empty wide receiver spot in case Allen plays. Phillips. You go Claypool out of those three.
Yeah, I would go Claypool as well on that one.
And I would not. Penny's going to lose it. Who's Seattle playing this week?
Seattle. They played
Atlanta.
Atlanta, yeah. It's a good match.
I flex Penny.
I think it's a get-right game for Penny. I know so many people are down. He didn't have a great week. I'm one of those people, to be honest with you. I've been trying to trade him all week. Nobody wants to take him. I'm really hoping that he kind of goes off. But Atlanta can give up points, but they could also put up points too. So hopefully that makes the game that much more interesting.
I think it's a 50-50 at best anyways for either one of them, Walker or Penny, because it wasn't there the first 2 weeks. But Walker looked really good. He's coming for Penny's job, but I don't think Penny is going to lose it to him. He'll just lose up to 50% of his snaps.
Gotcha.
All right, so this was Answers with Guests. This was week 2.5. Maybe it was week 3. We don't really know how to say it, but it's halftime adjustments. And what we need to do. There's a lot of problems. If you didn't catch them all, go back to the beginning of the show and check out all those problems. Get them off your team. Get them out of your lineups. There's a lot of answers. And it's waiver night, so put in your waiver claims. Best of luck. Recorded shows will be on the page Saturday at some point. We'll let you know. And we'll be live Sunday morning to answer the rest of your questions. Good luck Thursday with any of the guys that you play. Rob, you got anything to say?
Love you all. Thanks for watching.
I'm just trying to click buttons over
here. Yeah, I see you're just clicking. I like how you're just changing things back and forth. Yeah. You don't even need me anymore.
No. Yeah, I do. I do need you. We all need you, Rob. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. 1 hour. We hit that 1 hour. It's just like it's meant to be every single time. All right, everybody. Take it easy. Enjoy the game in a couple nights. Hopefully get your waiver claims tonight. Goodbye.
All right. Peace.